Well, it's getting closer to Halloween season, so I thought I'd check out something old and creepy and completely random. Honestly, I just jump into some of these film reviews just on a whim. While researching the actors for my last review, The Strange Love of Martha Ivers, I was reading about actress Janis Wilson, who played the young Martha Ivers in that film. And I discovered from the Internet Movie Database she was also in this somewhat odd sounding film, The Creeper, from 1948. And you know what? I decided to check it out. And on further research, discovered this film was in the public domain. Hey, even better. So you know what? Let's take a look at this old film. And look, I enjoy old cheesy films and often find them very entertaining. So don't come into this one expecting Citizen Kane. And hey, it's got Onslow Stevens from the film Them. So you know this one has to be good. I'll summarize the film and give some closing thoughts. Well, the film opens up at a creepy old house. There's this older gentleman, a Dr. Cavini, who's played by actor Ralph Morgan, who I caught not long ago in the film Night Monster. He's asleep in his office when we see a girl go by, Nora, played by actress Janis Wilson, who I mentioned before from Strange Love of Martha Ivers, and she is sort of the star of this movie. And she's apparently sleepwalking. Comes into the office, grabs a gun, and walks out. She goes back to her room and hides the gun under a pillow, then goes back to sleep. Well, the doctor is kind of disturbed by this. He goes in, retrieves the gun, and asks if she's all right. She's worried about something, but he assures his daughter everything's okay, nothing to worry about. Well, we cut over to the character, Dr. Van Glock. What a great name. Played here by Eduardo Cinelli. Now, I've seen him before in the movie Gunga Din. He was there as that evil bad guy who I think he led a cult or something. And there's some other characters with him. There's a Dr. Jim Borden, played by Onslow Stevens. And he's got a very sinister looking goatee here. You know, you just can't trust people with beards in movies. And he's working with this Dr. Cavini character, and they have a shipment that has arrived of scientific supplies. I think they're working in a lab together. I'm not sure exactly what the plot was saying that they were doing. Something about phosphorescent internal organs or something silly. It's not really important to the story. But what they discover is that the shipment of their glass vials, they've all been smashed. So Dr. Borden wants to go on with the research, and this will involve getting some special cats back from their trip to get more of the serum that they need. I know, honestly, don't read into this one too much. Nora shows up, and she's alarmed with the thought of the cats. Cats are going to be kind of a theme of this one. Again, don't read into it too much. Dr. John Reed shows up. He's played by John Barragray, and he's sort of the young, dashing doctor here. And he meets with Nora and some of the other lab researchers, and he also talks with the character Gwen, played here by June Vincent. And they all have coffee together. Now, a weird side note is they have coffee brewing in one of the beakers, along with other bottles of presumably chemicals or lab liquids they're studying. Would you put the coffee with the others? In fact, they keep their milk in an icebox along with vials of what look like blood. And, and on the subject of weird lab practices, it's here that we see Creeper, who is the lab cat that just sort of roams free in the lab. Now, honestly, I was a D- science student in school. I could be wrong about this, but some of these practices seem, a little bit weird. Especially, would you really have a cat running loose in your scientific laboratory? Well, it doesn't matter. But the main thing is, Nora seems alarmed by the presence of this cat. But why? She's a cute. So, Dr. Reed, he's concerned about Nora, but Gwen is like, oh, she's all right. It's nothing, really. Like this sort of behavior is normal to get spooked by a cat and run off, I guess. That night, Nora has a nightmare involving a large cat paw sort of reaching around, and it's kind of strange. She tells her dad about it, and he comforts her, and she still seems a little bit shaken up by this. Early the next day, Dr. Reed arrives at the lab and sees Dr. Glock possibly snooping around. But no, he says he was just looking for Creeper. There's something suspicious about that guy. Well, Nora shows up and chats with Dr. Reed and gives we the viewer some more exposition about her father's research, none of which is really important to the film, while Dr. Glock looks at them suspiciously. He really does a great job of that in this film. Well, around here, Creeper shows up and Nora panics. She really doesn't like cats. She explains that it goes back to her time in New Guinea when she was there and she got some sort of a fever. She shares the details with us, which include a sequence of jungle drums and angry-looking house cats.
I've never felt too much at ease with cats, and right about then my life became a rather horrifying round of squirming cats and hypodermic needles and serum bubbling in bottles. Of all of us there, I was the only one who caught the fever. I was in a delirium for weeks. One night in particular. You know how it is in delirium. Everything becomes exaggerated. Everything that happened to me became magnified in my dreams. And I can still remember seeing the most horrible things.
Well, they go out for Chinese, and hey, it's Philip Ahn as the restaurant owner. I caught him recently in the film Impact. And they have dinner and talk a little when a cat shows up in the restaurant, and she screams and runs away. So we have a cat that runs loose in a lab, and now a cat that's running loose in a Chinese restaurant. Okay, well, Nora, whenever she sees a cat, she's going to freak out. Now, Gwen stops by the next day to talk with her and nicely suggests that she be careful with Dr. Reed, saying encouraging things like, "You've always been the neurotic type, and don't you think it's time you consulted a psychiatrist?" What a good friend. That's the type of encouragement you need in life. Well, Nora doesn't believe it and she breaks down crying, and yeah, I don't blame you. Well, she looks up and she sees the character Andre, played by actor David Hoffman, with some dramatic lighting, approach her, and she screams and passes out. Her dad is there when she wakes, and it turns out it wasn't a dream, but that Andre is from New Guinea and he's there to help take care of the cats. Well, we go to another dream with Nora, and I'm sorry, but this scene with the shadow honestly made me laugh. This is awesome, and I love this movie. So following that amazing dream, she finds her father dead, and then she takes off running from a cat and then falls, presumably passes out again. The next day, Dr. Reed shows up for work, and he chats with Creeper the cat and brings him in the lab, of course. And it's there that he sees a newspaper with a headline that mentions that there was a murder. He talks with Dr. Van Glock about this. And this is right as a new character comes in, Inspector Fenwick, who's played by actor Richard Lane, who I've seen before in films like 2 O'Clock Courage. Nora, it turns out, has been accused of murder. Well, she's eventually released. And Dr. Reed seems happy, but Gwen not so much. She gives the doctor the cold shoulder, sensing that he might have a romantic thing for Nora. Well, he leaves and goes to visit with Nora and brings her some flowers. She's recovering from everything. After his visit, he passes Dr. Borden, who was on his way to visit with Nora as well. Now, Dr. Borden isn't really there for a sympathetic visit as much as he is interested in papers that her dad had. Now, Nora gets angry at him about this, and she just doesn't trust this guy. Well, later that night, the Andre character is stalked by a big cat shadow, and he winds up dead. The inspector continues his research and is even more suspicious of these guys at this lab. Nora shows up to talk with Dr. Reed, and she seems to be doing a little bit better here. So, a little later in the film, Dr. Reed discovers Gwen is dead, with cats all around her in this laboratory, and there's a fire in the sink. What is going on here? And that night, as Nora is home alone, someone or something comes creeping in to get her. Will she survive? Will her weird cat fears continue to plague her? Well, you need to watch the film for yourself to see how the ending goes. No spoilers, but I have to tell you, the ending was completely and totally baffling and hilarious at the same time. It was awesome. I will leave it for you to see. And look, the film's in the public domain. There's copies everywhere, so you can go see the ending for yourself to this amazing film. Now, some closing thoughts about The Creeper. I really don't have much more I can say to kind of close this film because it was just a silly old monster film from the 40s. It had a few big names in it, and I loved it. It was produced by Reliance Pictures and distributed by 20th Century Fox. It was directed by Gene Yarbrough and also written by Maurice, Tom Bregel, and Don Martin. And like I've mentioned, it is in the public domain. This one did not really have many reviews on the Internet Movie Database or pictures, and finding information about this was something of a challenge. But, I did my best, and I enjoyed it. Outside of the goofy cat monster premise, I thought that it did have, some great lighting effects and shadows. And to be fair, it did keep you guessing through most of the film. If there was an actual monster, or if this was just a trip into madness. More than being a monster film, it's more of like a psychological horror monster film. And look, not everything's going to be Citizen Kane. And to be honest, I love all films regardless. If it's from the 1940s, I'll jump into it and I will enjoy it. There's a feel to this film of a Val Lawton horror film like Cat People from the 1940s. Especially, sort of the psychological horror more so than actually seeing the monster. But again, it is kind of low budget, and just take it for what it is. Janis Wilson was very convincing to me as the lead character, having all of those cat-themed nightmares. And John Bargeret, I thought, balanced nicely as the sympathetic doctor. Eduardo Cinelli, I thought, was good here. He got top billing in the film, but it seems like he's barely in the film, and he doesn't really say all that much either. He does give plenty of those awesome, sinister looks, though, so it's worth it to see those. And again, I don't have much to offer in terms of trivia, but I'll just close this one and say, look, it was an old 1940s monster film. I found it entertaining, and at times unintentionally hilarious. If you're looking for something light for the Halloween season, a little eerie and funny at the same time, this is a great choice, and it's one worth checking out.